Alright, so I have this handy little list of culture notes that I've been like, because every now and again I'll see something and I'll try to remember to put it on YouTube and then I'll inevitably forget. So here we go. Japan is really well geared towards helping people that can't see very well. On all the sidewalks and really just kind of any urban infrastructure where you're walking, there will always be a little yellow path with raised bumps, and so people that can't see very well will walk on them and know that they're going in the right direction. And usually they would do it on the entire sidewalk, like I'm looking outside, and yeah, it's not on the entire sidewalk, but usually they'll have it at street corners, and then when you're at the very edge of the street corner, or where you're somewhere that the path's going to turn, it changes from like long strip bumps to like little smaller dot bumps, and you can feel it through your shoes, and that means just like, hey, watch out, you're at a street corner. Also, the walk, don't walk traffic signals, you know, when you're about to cross on the crosswalk. No one jaywalks in Japan, almost, except for like a couple little hooligans that I've seen. But when you're crossing and it turns green, it actually lets out some noise. Usually it's kind of like a little melody, or I've heard it birds chirping, and you know, it's just so peaceful. But the idea is that, so you know, if you can't see it, then you know that you're good to go across the street, which is really handy. I bought some jeans, as you can see. I bought a pair of jeans, and the way it works a lot of times is that they'll all be the same length, and the length that they have is much too long for anyone to ever comfortably wear. And I was kind of having a hard time understanding, and I was talking to the guy at the shop, and he told me that what you do is cut, like when you find a pair that you really like, you don't just buy jeans without trying them on because they're just too nice, which is really nice. It's more attuned to the way that I'm used to shopping by myself. So, like, you know, the guys at the store will, you know, they accompany you, and they, you know, they see you to the changing room, and they're standing outside when you're in the changing room, like making sure you don't have any problems. And when you find a pair that you really like, they have a nice pair of scissors there, and they roll it, and they you know, roll the cuff up just so that it, you know, fits perfectly on your shoe, and then they cut across. So A, you have like pretty cool bottoms of your jeans, because it's going to get, you know, a little like tattered, and B, they you know, it fits perfectly. So, you know, they're all about making sure your jeans fit. There's wild cats, like little house cats, everywhere. So, I don't know, a lot of times they'll put some food out at the temple, so the cats kind of like hang around the temples, like little shrines and stuff they have around Kyoto, or Kobe. But I've seen like a whole lot of just stray cats that are just like really cute and they just run around. When I was in Kyoto, there were pigeons that you could get some birdseed for like $1 and hold your hand out, and the pigeons all land on your body. Nobody had any problem with the pigeons pooping on them, but they just like sit there in your hand and just like eat. Sorry. They sit there in your hand and they just kind of like eat out of your hand. It's really, I have some really crazy pictures of it. I went to go get some Japanese Italian food because I wanted to see what that was all about. So my friend and I went with these language partners that wanted to go there. And Japanese people love mayonnaise. I saw a table next to ours that had a pizza that they had ordered, and there was just like mayonnaise all on top of it with seafood. And I couldn't get behind that, but you know, I guess if it's tasty to them, that's good. There was like a pasta with like a tomato mayo sauce that I wasn't gonna try, but the pasta I had, they say bacon comes in a lot of their pastas, and I was like, well, I'll try that. But what they mean is Canadian bacon. So if you see a pasta that has bacon in it, they mean ham, which turned out to be really tasty. So I had my pasta, and then they crack an egg over top of the pasta. It's just so Japanese. My friend had like seaweed sprinkled on his pasta. Like, I mean, you know, you can't get by it. Japanese people love eating raw eggs on their stuff, and I gotta tell you, it's like really delicious. I talked about the calligraphy book. I talked about cooking. Alright, these guys, where do I have it? My fans. So like these fans, I thought that it'd be like really touristy to have one, so I didn't pick one up at first until I realized that everybody just has one of these, because a lot of places in Japan don't have air conditioning and it can be pretty humid here. Not as hot as I thought it was going to be. I hear it's actually a lot cooler here than it is in the States right now. Like, I've been really comfortable in just jeans and a t-shirt. But it gets a lot really humid, and so you just bring one of these, and they're actually a lot more clutch than I ever thought that they would be. I thought I would look really touristy having one of these, but like, you know, you can just like bust it out whenever you're trying to fan yourself. So yeah, like, goodbye. Alright, and the last thing I want to talk about is Japan and people getting together, because I was really confused for a really long time until finally one of the senseis had a couple rounds, and I got him to like really talk to me about this, because this has been really kind of confusing me. And it's everywhere in Japan, the men are all really feminine until like in their 20s, and it's kind of hard to understand. You know, youth Japanese culture, they don't pay attention to the girls. You know, if they're showing girls walking on one side of the street, the guys are walking on the total other side of their street, and they don't try. And I didn't understand. I was like, well, how do they ever get together? Like, I don't get it. So in Japan, what you do is like the woman, the goal for the woman basically is to become a housewife sooner or later, unless she's really, really serious about business, or if she wants to go abroad and like teach or something. I mean, like, as for the most part, women wind up kind of just being like housewives in Japan. That's my understanding of it anyway. So like, the question is, when do they meet men? Or like, when do these people ever get together? Because the girls kind of mature around the same age that they do in America, but the guys are so much later that I've talked to a lot of language partners about this, and they're all really frustrated at the Japanese system, because, you know, they're trying to meet boys and the guys aren't having it. So what they do is the girls go to college so that they can get a job in an office, and that's like the office assistant salaryman relationship, and that's how it works out a lot of times, is that it just doesn't happen until mid-20s. And an interesting thing about that is, you know, you kind of look around Japan and you wonder, well, how does so many people live in such a peaceful place? Because they've got to get pissed off sometimes. And the reason is that, you know, the closest thing we have in American psychology is like Karen Horney with, you know, like loving oneself versus loving other people. And so what they do, Japan's had this idea for like 800 years. And so you've got your honne, which is like your internal feelings, and then there's your social self that you present. And so, you know, there's got to be an outlet. And that's why you can buy alcohol at the supermarket. That's why 7-Eleven stocks hard liquor, and that's why nobody cards in Japan, because like, this is the social vent. Heavy drinking is Japan's way of dealing with their problems, because if you're a really good boss, you will take your employees out and get them really drunk, and then it is socially acceptable to say what you're really feeling. And so if one of the language partners is trying to get really drunk, it's because they have something they really want to talk about but can't socially talk about it ordinarily. So these people, you know, they run around and everybody's just like, nobody can step on each other's toes because there's so many people in such a small island. But when everybody finally gets drunk, then the real feelings come out. So that was something that was really confusing me, is just like, you know, when do these people really vent? And that's why alcoholism is like, it's a big part of the culture, and the reason for that is because that is Japanese society's way to vent out its problems. That's the outlet. Alright, well, I thought that was really interesting, so that's my culture note video. Alright, I miss you guys back home, and I love you all.